What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and excited. Day 3 of the 2021 NFL Draft is here. We are going to be here all day long at Blogging the Boys, wherever you're watching, on our YouTube stream, on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, wherever you're watching. We hope you're having a good time. We're going to have a great time all day long. This is the first of many streams that we're going to have today. We're going to have different streams for each round. It is currently round 4. The television broadcast tells me that the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. However, the pick for the Detroit Lions is already in, who are on the clock after them, according to your television broadcast. But the Detroit Lions taking USC wide receiver Amon St. Brown. So things are going to happen very fast today, which is why we're here all together to make sure that we are caught up on it all. Captain Linceno says, what's up, RJ? What's up going on, Captain? Hope all is over you are as well. C. Dixon Jr. says, what's up? Hashtag Cowboys Nation. Last night was rough for the Dallas Cowboys, obviously. The third round, not exactly something that people were thrilled by. We do have a recap video that is up on our YouTube page, or should be up momentarily, so you can go back and check that out. Tony Catalina joined me. We will be joined by Tony Catalina and a cast of other people all throughout the day. As mentioned, we'll have a different stream for the round 4, for round 5, for round 6, for round 7, and then we will have an undrafted free agent show where we will be tracking all of the undrafted free agents that the Dallas Cowboys are signing. We'll also, of course, keep you updated at bloggingtheboys.com and all of our social media properties. But it's the third day of the 2021 NFL Draft. Deborah says, hey, RJ. Hey, Deborah, how's it going? Christopher Lopez, excuse me. Good morning. Good morning. Top of the morning to everybody. Irving Cares, 214. How many starters did we get in days 1 through 2? I think the answer for that is not exactly what everybody wants to hear. Let's take a look at where things stand with the Dallas Cowboys. Their draft class so far, Micah Parsons in the first round after the trade back with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that they're right there. That's clearly the best pick throughout the class for the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, the Bengals pick, in case you missed it, is Cameron Sample, the defensive end. Just staying caught up here. But Micah Parsons, obviously, the best player in the class so far. Kelvin Joseph, I think, is a starter, soon enough. And outside of that, I don't think that there are a lot of starters, in terms of immediate starters for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, these are projects. The Nashawn Wright pick the Cowboys made last night, one that not a lot of people were confident in, and that is definitely a project, which is why a lot of people were so upset by it. If you're gonna, roll the dice on some projects, round 3 is not the time to do that. But yes, Cameron Sample is gone. Just checking, making sure. This is going to be a day where we're monitoring Twitter, where everything is happening very fast. If you have the television broadcast on behind us, it is going to be behind. We are going to be moving at warp speed. I've had a coffee. I've got a Monster in the fridge. I have many Diet Cokes. The caffeine is here. It's like a waterfall, and we're going to make sure that things are happening really great. So Cameron Sample is gone, which means right now the Atlanta Falcons should be on the clock in terms of real time with the 113th overall pick. The Cowboys, of course, up at 115. Who do you want? Let's start here. Let's get things started. Let's kind of put some positive energy into the space. Who do you want to see the Dallas Cowboys draft with their first pick in the 4th round? They do have 2 selections in the 4th round today. One of those a compensatory pick. Obviously, the Cowboys only have a single pick in the 5th round. They're going to have to wait a little bit. That is their comp pick. The Cowboys traded their original 5th round pick last year in the 4th round when they moved up with the Philadelphia Eagles, of all people, obviously, to go draft Tyler Biadasz. The Cowboys do have 2 6th round picks, and they only have a single 7th round pick. Like I said, we will have somebody on to discuss each and every pick with us. Deborah says, I like waterfalls. Booyah. Okay, cool. Omar Lee says Cox. Jabril Cox is definitely a name that a lot of Cowboys fans are excited about. Jason says, need defense, need something fierce. Enrique says the defensive tackle from Florida State. Marvin Wilson gone. I think that's what you're talking about. Gone last night. Let's see. Rob says, I'll go with Jabril Cox and finish off the linebacker rebuild. Not a bad idea. Jabril Cox, by the way, Dane Brugler's fantastic draft guide, the 6th overall linebacker in his particular evaluation. He does have him as a 2nd to 3rd round grade. The Cowboys obviously already walked away with a linebacker in this draft. Their first pick, Micah Parsons out of Penn State. So we talked about last night, all throughout our live shows, we had 2 different streams in the 2nd and 3rd round. Obviously, how the Cowboys should double dip, and they did double dip at corner in taking Nashawn Wright, although that was a bit of a surprise, especially with Elijah Molden and Ifeatu Melifonwu on the board, who literally went the picks right after the Cowboys took right to the Tennessee Titans and the Detroit Lions. The Lions, who did just take St. Brown out of USC, are having a rather nice draft. We've got what do people want here? Let's get Dane's draft guide up here. A lot of people talking about Nasir Al-Din, the safety out of Florida State. Lots of people just saying the safety from FSU. Yeah, it's a long name to type out. I'm not saying I disagree with that. Fool for Speed says need an offensive tackle prospect. And the Cowboys have I think that's maybe if you're coming up with questions, right? If you're coming up with things you're concerned about when it comes to the Cowboys draft so far, there are two at the very top, besides, questions about the players that they've drafted. The first one is that they do not have an offensive tackle. The second is that they do not have a safety. Now, you could look at the fact that the Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons and that he maybe opens the door for Keanu Neal to play more safety than we've thought he will for the last couple of months. Maybe the Cowboys kind of view that as a two birds, one stone sort of situation. However, they do still need an offensive tackle, even if you feel great about safety, which I don't know that you would. By the way, Stephen Jones basically trolled every Cowboys fan in the universe on Friday night after the team's post-draft press conference. But let's see here. We've got the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go ahead and get our graphic ready here. Are on the clock. All right, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. I'm trying to find out who went just before them. Give me just a second. If we've got an answer who went just ahead of the Cowboys, that would be appreciated. We obviously appreciate everybody who's helping us out here. Right before the Dallas Cowboys went, we have nope, I still don't know yet here. But let's see here. If anybody can let us know, that would be great. DeMar Hamlin is let's see. We've got again, just making sure here. By the way, Jabril Cox is in play here. Definitely in play for the Dallas Cowboys as an option. Again, the linebacker. I think we'd feel really positive about the situation at linebacker if the Cowboys did double dip. They have double dipped at corner. Just making sure. Oh my gosh, everybody! The pick is in. The Dallas Cowboys pick is in, and it is time to get excited. The Dallas Cowboys looking for it. Everybody give me 1 second. The pick is in. All right, everybody, with the 115th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys have, in fact, selected LSU linebacker Jabril Cox. Let's go! Everybody get pumped. The Dallas Cowboys did it. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I think this is the first pick that we all feel very great about. This is an incredible pick for the Dallas Cowboys, incredible value. And this is the first time I think we've really been able to say that. Every pick that they've made to this point, sorry, we're getting tweets up all over at our Blogging the Boys account, focusing on getting our social things ready for you as well. All of our people that follow us on Instagram and whatnot. Jabril Cox, again, Dane Brugler's big board has him evaluated as the 6th overall linebacker in the class. If you're curious who those top 6 are, Micah Parsons, J.O.K., Zaven Collins, who went to the Arizona Cardinals, had a great video talking to Steve Keim originally. Jamin Davis, who went to the Washington football team, right? I mean, it's been a long couple of days. Nick Bolton, who obviously went last night, and Jabril Cox. The Dallas Cowboys have 2 of the top 6 linebackers in the class. Letitia says, linebacker, I was sitting bricks. Thank you, Letitia. It's a family show. Josh Ferris says he's a better pick than most of their third rounders. I agree. In fact, let's is this the best pick? Is this actually, let's rephrase. Is this the best value that the Dallas Cowboys have come away with in the NFL draft so far? By the way, we're getting our friend Bobby Belton here, getting him the link to join us. He's going to join us to talk about this pick, letting Bobby know, hey, we sent the link, so come on over. Is this the best value that the Dallas Cowboys have come away with so far in the 2021 NFL draft? I think it is. Even the Micah Parsons pick, as talented of a player as he is, it's a linebacker in the top 12, so it's difficult to kind of get over. I think this truly is the best value. This is a great pick by the Dallas Cowboys. A very, 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 very good pick. Dallas Martin, appropriately named. About stinking time. Again, family show. I really appreciate everybody for the PG-13 this year. CeeLo says, still need offensive line help. Hey, don't worry. See, it's a long day. But this is nice. This is nice. Dallas Martin says, by far the best value in the last 2 rounds. Yeah, I think this is certainly the best pick that anybody has felt or nobody has felt this good about a pick, at least since Kelvin Joseph. There certainly were people that were questionable about that as well. But Jabril Cox, the linebacker out of LSU for the Dallas Cowboys, gives them more options. And it is very clear that Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch are on notice. The state of the Dallas Cowboys linebackers changing dramatically, very quickly. If you're wondering, if Leighton Vander Esch is wondering whether the team is going to pick up his fifth-year option on Monday, it does seem rather questionable. But as Christopher Lopez says, it's a good start. Clinton Jones says by far the best value. Oh, I like this comment from Matthew Lester. Benjamin Button draft getting better the longer we go. Waiting on Bobby Belt to join us, but Jabril Cox, if you're just joining us now, make sure you subscribe to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We will have film reviews up on every single Dallas Cowboys draft prospect in the coming weeks. Micah Parsons coming soon. This is great. We've been waiting on this to happen really the whole draft, right? We've been waiting on the Cowboys to come away with something that made us feel like they finally did it. This is in line with what we were sort of hoping for and expecting all draft long, and this is the first time that this has really happened. Where is Bobby Belt? He is so late in joining us here. But Jabril Cox, the newest member of the Dallas Cowboys, again, we talk about this the last couple of nights. We've got to get all of our stuff ready on different platforms. The Dallas Cowboys linebacker room is now shaping up to be something way more interesting than it was at least 72 hours ago, right? I mean, there are now options. The Dallas Cowboys didn't really address the linebacker position in free agency, although you could certainly qualify the addition of Keanu Neal as a linebacker if you really wanted to. Michael Scarn says, Michael Scarn is here. Holy crap. We're in the presence of greatness, says Bobby. Waiting on Bobby to join us. Now, Oso was a good pick, Enrique says, doesn't have flash numbers. Yeah, I mean, that's great. And I'm not trying to knock the Osa pick, especially in retrospect. I don't want to dwell on the past, but this is finally, we've been waiting for this. This is finally value. And if you're watching the television broadcast, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys still haven't even made their pick, but Jabril Cox is the selection for them. Bobby is so slow. Bobby's slower than the TV broadcast right here. I'm texting him again. Where you at? Let's go. Kesh. Here we go. Let's get him in here. Finally, Bobby. Whoops. If I could get my headphones on right. Bobby Belt from NFL Network taking the time to join us here on our live show wearing a Calvin Ridley jersey. Robert, how goes it?
Goes great. Have you ever put on headphones before? That looked like a little bit of a tricky thing for you.
I put them on backwards, and they are studio headphones, so as you know, they're angled for your head. I have a beautifully shaped noggin.
Am I allowed to say why I own a Calvin Ridley jersey?
You're not. It's okay. Jabril Cox, the newest member of the Dallas Cowboys. Your thoughts, your emotions, your how you feel. Just give us it all. Be honest with us. Open your heart.
Fantastic pick. Second round type player to me.
Right.
Jabril Cox is so here's the thing. He's not that great in run defense right now. In fact, he struggles quite a bit there. But I mean, he is an elite cover guy at linebacker. And I think that what you've got right now is a good combo in the event that Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are not here for the long term. I think you've got a solid foundation here with Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons. And I do think that some of his limitations in the run game can be fixed by coaching. So I think it's a great pick here in the fourth round. I think there were a lot of people in the building last night who wanted to pick him at 99. And so to get him here at 115, I think makes everybody happy.
So you mentioned, if things don't work out with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, I think everybody's saying like, oh, they're not working out, right? Like this is, this does feel like, especially the Cowboys have now spent two of their top, 6 picks. Granted they didn't enter the draft with 6 picks, but on the linebacker position, 2 picks in the top 115 overall selections. This feels like a clear indication that they are planning on something very different. Like they could have, they tried to, I'm not saying they tried to spin it, but like they talked what they did. Oh yeah, we're still thinking about Leighton's 5th-year option even after the Micah Parsons pick. But this is a bat signal of sorts that things are definitely changing in the linebacker room.
Yeah, and I think my sense of it is Jalen Smith's time is running out here, and Leighton Vander Esch is on notice. I don't think they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. I think they're going to have him play it out. I think that actually benefits both parties involved. You remember we reached that point with the Dak contract where some people were like, you know what? Let him play on the franchise tag. He benefits from it. He can potentially earn more money. Cowboys can get more confidence about it. It's good for everybody involved here. I think that the Cowboys will take a similar approach with that 5th-year option. I don't think they're going to pick it up because I also don't think that whatever that figure is of the 5th-year option, and it's fully guaranteed. I don't think there's anybody in the league who would pay that right now on the open market for Leighton Vander Esch, just because of the injury uncertainty and some of the struggles he had last year. But I mean, I do think it's worth pointing out that the one full season we've had of Leighton Vander Esch, he looked really good, and he was a Pro Bowl caliber player. And so I think that you've got to at least feel better about his potential, I think, to bounce back than you do Jalen at this point. But yeah, both of these guys, I think, are on notice.
This is, I mean, we've been talking about it so far in the stream, but is this not the best value that the Dallas Cowboys have had so far in the draft? I mean, of all their picks, I really feel like you can make that statement and make it rather fairly.
Yeah, I mean, I think according to their board, Micah Parsons was a pretty big value. I think in terms of just talent, not the other things, Kelvin Joseph is a talent that belongs ahead of 44 where they picked him. But I think this is universally considered their best value for sure. Like I said, I think they're getting him 2 rounds later than he probably deserved to go.
Why?
I like him enough to say because I think he's such an elite cover guy at linebacker, and I think you need that with the increase of, the smaller, sort of slot receivers that make things difficult across the middle, some of these athletic tight ends, the influx of these guys that you'll see now, like Travis Etienne, and you get, Christian McCaffrey and some of these big time receiving threats out of the backfield. I think Jabril Cox does a lot to kind of neutralize that.
But why did he fall? That's the question we're getting the most, and nobody knows more about nobody knows more about anything in the universe than you do. So go ahead and answer this for us.
Well, I mean, when he was in fifth grade,
Bobby, sorry, go ahead. I've had a very, very big coffee today, so go ahead.
He turned in some math homework late in 5th grade.
I think Bobby lost audio. Something terrible happened. I think his microphone came unplugged. Bobby is by trade a supremely qualified radio technician, and so he has now butchered his what he does for a living. Very embarrassing, Bobby. If you're back, we'll go ahead and unmute your mic. Or your mic is still not connected, it says. That's the message I'm getting. Let's see if you can unmute it. He can't. Bobby cannot unmute his mic. Goodness gracious. What is happening here? You might need to adjust your settings within the platform that we're using here, Bobby. You just go to edit your mic. But Dallas Martin said, I believe it's $9.2 million. If we have people asking about in the comments what Leighton Vander Esch's 5th-year option value is, it is just a hair over $9 million. Leighton was a first-round pick. Bobby, I don't know if you want to exit the stream and come back in. That might be necessary. We'll go ahead and wait for you. But Leighton Vander Esch was a first-round pick.
I'm here.
Okay.
I got so excited I stepped on a cord and unplugged everything, and so it killed it.
You do have a different mic now, so your audio levels are different. I know that's going to bother you, but
oh no, it sounds okay. I think I sound all right.
You definitely sound tinny. Can somebody at least back me up here in the comments and say that Bobby sounds different? Just let us know, because he does. So you do sound different. I know. I say that I would only tell you honestly because I know it would bother you. Now you're gone again. You're gone again. Your audio is gone, Bobby. This is nobody was necessarily believing in this. Raul Duke, by the way, says totally tinny. Bobby's leaving. I'm sure he's on his way back. Ultimately, let's go ahead and get Jabril's information up here. This is a great move for the Dallas Cowboys. Trying to keep up with Twitter. Let's see here. Jabril Cox last night had a tweet, and I saw this going off. We'll get this up on the screen for you in just a moment here. Let's see here. One moment. Trying to pull it up myself. Jabril Cox, I'll read it to you in my beautiful baritone voice, if you don't mind. God has a plan. I pray for direction to follow it, patience to wait on it, and knowledge to know when it comes. Obviously was not chosen on day 1 or day 2. Bobby, I think, is back. Do we have you now, Robert?
Do I sound okay?
We've got you now. Everything's good.
God.
Okay. Yeah.
This is cosmic justice for wearing the Falcons jersey, I guess.
So let's answer the question.
He fell because I think the biggest reason is I would guess it's mainly because of the run defense. I mean, he is a really poor run defender, and so it's kind of limited his capacity. A lot of the other linebackers don't have the same deficiencies. I mean, he is such an elite cover guy, but there are major deficiencies in the run game. He's just flat out not good at it right now. But I think you can coach that out of him. Also, there's always the chance when you see guys slide like this, especially this year, that we just don't have answers on a medical thing. And so, I mean, it could be that he's got I don't want to say he does, but I mean, it could be that there's some sort of medical issue there that made him, there's an injury or something that caused him to slide a little bit. But he is a really solid player. I mean, he can step in and he's probably your best cover guy at linebacker right now.
You feel that way, like in your heart of hearts?
Yeah, 100%.
So ultimately, the Cowboys now here. Let's get the whole class back up here. By the way, this feels much better. I feel like this is, okay, this was bad, not going great. Hold up. Like, I feel like the Cowboys dug in a little bit here and really got a nice value, which is what, like, that. This feels like the first real pick of the draft, like almost like they've been asleep at the wheel, so to speak, and like they finally got back in line and in lockstep with the ideology that we were expecting this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just the.
Sorry, Bobby, really quickly to cut you off. I know you were a fan of Bobby Brown.
Where did he just go?
I think he just went. He just went to the Los Angeles Rams at 117.
Good fit for him. I think that it's interesting when you look at kind of the breakdown of it. I think that Micah Parsons and Kelvin Joseph were just flat out. These are the best players. There's some questions there. That's why they slid to us, but let's go for it. I think that Golson and Odigizua are examples of these are solid guys. We know what we're getting with them. Maybe we're going a little early here, or maybe we could get them a little bit later, but these are guys we're comfortable with. And I think Nahshon Wright was just a guy that's like, we love those tools. This is the first pick of the draft where I think it's like, blinking light, best player, just flat out, this is the guy that should go here that fits the best. And so in that sense, yeah, I think it is the most different pick that they've had so far. But I really don't hate what they did on day 2. Like a lot of people are frustrated with. I think I appreciate the fact that they've thrown 6 darts at the defensive board and are really trying to revamp that. And so I appreciate their urgency on that side of the ball and recognizing we got a lot to remake here. I would like to see them with their next pick, hopefully find some sort of an edge rusher, somebody who's, an actual pin your ears back type of go guy. I don't think that's Golston. I don't think that's Odigizua. I think those guys are more Tyrone Crawford, multifaceted tweener types that are more run game defenders, which is something the Cowboys needed. They struggled against the run so bad last year that I think those are to their benefit, but I would like to see him still here with this next pick, potentially get an edge rusher.
As we look at Jabril Cox by the numbers,
great last name.
Yeah, not if you play Madden.
No, it's because I liked Brian Cox growing up.
If you play Madden still, they have a bit of a filter on that. Like they'll literally put like C-X if a player has that last. I don't know if you knew that, but
this is why I stopped playing Madden.
So Joe Saviano says on our YouTube stream, seems like the round 3 picks are coaches' picks. Like that. I don't want to say like.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I think the scouts liked Golston and Odigizua, and I think they liked Nahshon Wright. I just think they preferred Jabril Cox. But I mean, I don't think they hated Nahshon Wright. I do think Odigizua and Golston, I think the scouts liked him.
So ultimately, do you think that this is, and some of it is just unknown, right? Like, and that's the draft in general. That's this year, specifically with the way that the medical situation has been, the lack of information overall in a larger sense. But do you think that this pick is the beginning of Cowboys draft picks starting to line up with draft Twitter? Because last year they obviously ultimately they had that in spades. Do you think that just it's coincidence, or do you think that there is
it's going to be tougher? Because I mean, you're getting into this area where draft Twitter is not necessarily going to know everybody who's going today, and I think that's what frustrated them about round 3 and a guy like Nahshon Wright was because they're like, this is somebody I should hear tomorrow, and who I don't know who they are, and I should know who everybody who goes in the 3rd round is. So I think there's only a few players left that can fit that, but I do think that the Cowboys feel comfortable about what's ahead of them, and I think that after these picks are made, even if fans don't know who they are, I think after they investigate them a little bit, you're going to come around and see that you like some of these guys. I just don't know that you're going to have a huge awareness of the class after about 150 picks, especially in such a relatively small class. Usually there's 1,000+ players that sign with agents before the draft. This year there were 600 and there's 300 picks. So, I mean, half the players available for selection are going to be picked, which is a massive amount. And so it's going to be a thinner class, and a class that as we get further along, I think people are going to know the players less and less.
Yeah, that's fair. You know how I love to connect meaningless information. But
one of those hats, by the way, that is a clean looking hat. Can you get me one?
If you want one of these Blogging the Boys hats, I'll get it for you, Bobby. Will you wear it?
Dude, I dead serious will wear it. It is a nice looking hat.
I mean, hey, I'll definitely get you one of these hats. Do you want one of these half zips while you're at it? If you're just out here, barking out requests.
100%. Sorry, I'm just commenting y'all's blogging the boys swag. You guys have good looking hats. That's all. I think they're really nice.
We'll get you a hat, Bobby. Very good friend of the show. So again, meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but meaningful. Aiden says, I want a hat too. Guys, we're hustling. We'll get everybody hats. That's our goal.
Yeah.
Our goal.
Free hat.
Notable fourth round linebackers. Like this means nothing, but the Cowboys have had a propensity to draft notable linebackers in the fourth round. Anthony Hitchens, fourth round draft pick. Damian Wilson, fourth round draft pick. Didn't quite reach the same ceiling that Anthony Hitchens did with the Cowboys, but still, this is a sweet spot for them. I mean,
so what you're saying is Jabril Cox will be on the Kansas City Chiefs in 4 years.
I'm not necessarily saying that.
Where our fourth round linebackers go.
But like if you buy into again like strengths, right? Like this is a strength of the Dallas Cowboys is to find linebackers on this day, right? Because they've done it. They've done it several times, and to the point that people were certainly upset when Anthony Hitchens left. Not quite as bummed when Damian Wilson left, but the fact that he ended up with the Chiefs. And as Adam Wilson lets us know, Brady James was a fourth round pick. Again, going a little bit further back here, but this is a sweet spot for the Dallas Cowboys, which is why I'm not at all saying like be more excited about Jabril Cox than Micah Parsons, but overall be pumped, like be super pumped about the future of the Cowboys linebacker position, because there is a likelihood, correct me if you disagree, there is a possibility that a year from now the third and fourth best linebackers on the Dallas Cowboys prior to roster cuts and decisions are Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. Is that fair? Like that's legitimately possible?
It's possible. I don't know that it's probable. It's possible.
It's definitely possible. And I think that Micah Parsons a year from now is better than one of them, right? If not
probably
both of them.
Now,
right.
I will say that Parsons, I do want people to understand. I think he's going to be good. Parsons is not a high floor guy. I mean, this could go a different way. He's a relatively new player at the position. I think that he projects well, and I think he will be good here. But there might need to be a little patience year one with him. I think there's still some growing to do there.
Ultimately, by the way, I saw a tweet from Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. This is the first time in Dallas Cowboys franchise history that they have spent their first 6 picks on the defensive side of the ball. There is clearly a commitment. And I know that the third round was not what people wanted in terms of, draft knowledge entering, the last couple of days. But what have people said? You were an anti Kyle Pitts person, right? Like in terms of general draft lines, like
because I wanted my Falcons to get him.
Right. but like a very common theme, a very common like rallying cry was just spend every pick on defense. And that's a really like wide net to cast, but they've done that so far. They have spent 6 picks in the top 115 on the defensive side of the ball, 2 at a position where they have really, really, really catered to some overrated players in Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. And so I think fundamentally what they're doing is sound, even if there are some questions about the players they took in the third round last night.
Yeah, and I think that, when you mentioned the whole fourth round thing and their history of linebackers, I just started looking back over the years, and just in general on day 3, I think they've done a really good job of getting starter caliber players. Last year, Biotish in the 4th round, Donovan Wilson in the 6th round is looking like it's going to be a good hit. You look back at 2018 and they take Dalton Schultz, who is a good contributor for them last year. Cedric Wilson, a guy who they like. Day 3 was a good year where they got Xavier Woods, who, like Xavier Woods or not, he way overplayed 6th round value.
Sure.
You got Dak Prescott in the 4th round. Anthony Brown was a starter out of the 6th round pretty consistently. So they've gotten some good value on that day, on this day. This is a day where they seem to do really well, where I think they've spent the night kind of resetting their board and reevaluating things. And they've always done a real good job of restacking things and getting the guys they want. So that's why I said earlier, even if you don't know these guys that they're targeting today, I think people need to have faith in them finding a starter or two for the future on this day, because they've done it consistently over the years.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I think Xavier Woods is a great example, and an example of like the extremities that are the extremes that people reach. Extremities is your limbs.
I don't know what extremities was.
But
like a Greek last name.
Whatever. An example of Xavier Woods really wore out his welcome, especially with the effort, quote this past season. But like, if that's what you're getting out of 6th-round picks, I mean, you're doing rather well with 6th-round picks. Bobby, we're making you solo for a second to put Jabril Cox's tweet last night. Scoot over the other way. Last night, let's get your hand up, Bob. Vanna, where are we going? Last night, Jabril Cox tweeted out, "God has a plan.
An awful weatherman.
I pray for direction to follow it, patience to wait on it, and knowledge to know when it comes." This is a hungry player and somebody who feels like he was slighted going this late. And that's an exciting thing. Like, if you want somebody with a chip on their shoulder, I mean, figuratively, not literally like Anthony Brown, that's a really, I'm pumped about that specifically. And I imagine you are too.
Yeah, no, I like the mindset. I like the motivation, and good football player. I think that's just the thing you can say about Jabril Cox more than anything else is just they got a good football player and they got a real contributor on this defense.
So your grade on the draft class this morning versus what it is now.
Well, again, with the caveat, they've executed their plan. I think that's the biggest thing you can say. In terms of the players, I like the players that they've gotten. I think it's a B+, solid B+.
What was it this morning? Like, this has to have moved it in one direction, is what I'm saying.
I think it was a B, just because there's a little bit of unknown, and they may have gone a little earlier than they needed to on some of the guys in the 3rd round. But I think this bumps it up to a B+.
Okay. So you're that's fair though. Like, what was the last pick before this that bumped it up any direction for you?
In this class or any year?
This class. I think this is my point is I think
it's pretty much held at a B. So this is the first one that's probably bumped it up a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
the needle movement from pick to pick is larger here than it's been at any point so far.
Yeah, this is probably the best value they've gotten all day. And this is one of the better value picks, I think, period, for the draft so far of any team.
All right, let's rank Bobby then from 1 through 6 before we get you out of here. Your favorite picks on the Dallas Cowboys. And you can qualify it however you want. Best value, best player, best talent, but rank the overall class so far at this point.
So I will go by skill, and I'll say it's Parsons, Joseph, Cox, Golston, Odighizuwa, Wright. I think that value, I would go Cox, Joseph, Parsons, Golston, Odighizuwa, Wright.
You feel confident in this?
Value could shift a little bit. Joseph is just such a hard one to peg. As I told you last night, he's such a talented player. There are just questions about him and his love of football and some of where his focus is. I mean, he was adamant that that's not a problem when he talked to DallasCowboys.com last night, but it's 44 may have been the sweet spot for Kelvin Joseph. Even though talent-wise, that's a value pick, I think that's about where he belongs based off the questions.
Wow. Okay. I think ultimately today is off to a great start. Reading a tweet right now, Bobby, from Michael Gelkin of the Dallas Morning News.
Hey, Michael.
Seems like Jabril is having his press conference with the media right now. On being available in the 4th round, Jabril said, "It was a surprise to me. I know my talents and what I can do. Being picked by Dallas is very exciting." So there was constant communication in the pre-draft process, at least 5 touch points, including video calls. So clearly a player that the Dallas Cowboys have done an enormous amount of homework on.
Those calls?
I mean,
what did they ask?
I mean, I don't.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to throw it off the rails. I was just
Connor Livesey, who will join us later. I'm curious if you agree. I'm curious
that's Rodrigo Blankenship.
I know. I'm curious if you agree with this comp. Connor says Jabril Cox reminded me of Fred Warner coming out of BYU. Undersized, underdeveloped run defender who just absolutely shined in coverage.
It's fair. I think that's fair, probably.
Look at you, Bobby, getting everybody gassed up. Okay. Kevin KT.
Are they excited?
People are really excited, I think. People but before you leave, Bobby, Kevin KT Turner will join us after the Cowboys pick at 138. But before you leave, Michael Scarn, Bobby's never seen The Office, so he doesn't understand this reference.
Yes.
Says,
stop it. That's not true. Stop lying.
Bobby, can you find us a safety this late? Love Michael.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I love you too. I don't think you're finding a starting safety this late. Maybe you find some value here. I always flub his last name. The safety out of Florida State's probably the best one left. Nasruddin, or it is a mouthful.
It's a tough name.
I know that. I know I don't know if he's gone yet since we've been standing here talking. I know they were interested in Caden Stearns, and I think this is about his value. Would be to go around here, so I could see them going after Caden Stearns with 138. That's a possibility.
I'm going to give it a go. I tried it when we started the show earlier today. Hamza Nasiruddin.
Yeah, I think that is what I said.
Yeah, it's close to what you said.
I didn't even stumble.
But Bobby, very thankful. You have, I think, calmed. I mean, Jabril calmed a lot of people down, but you definitely aided in it.
What is going on in the world that I have been the calming, optimistic force? This is not normal.
Yeah, I guess, like, before you leave, last thing. Do you have a final thought? I mean, maybe it's that, like, if you are new to Bobby's Dallas Cowboys draft coverage, I don't know how that would be possible. He's been around forever. He is the GOAT. But what would, he has generally been a bit more of a pessimistic person, or some people would say a realistic person, but you are really calm this draft in particular. So what is your overall takeaway at this point for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think that they're playing it exactly the way they should. They recognize that their defense is in a bad place, and they went out and not only just acquired free agents to fix it, they acquired the new coaches to come in here and fix it, and they've thrown every single last dart they have the defense. You at least, whether it passes or fails, you cannot say they haven't tried to fix this and try to fix it quickly by going after guys that maybe have some red flags, and they're saying, you know what, we got to just get good players on the field, and going after guys like Parsons and Kelvin Joseph, which, again, to be fair, they're red flags for different reasons. I don't know that you can count them as equal risks, and I don't know that either one of them will prove to be a problem. In fact, I feel pretty good about Micah Parsons, and I think the risks associated with Kelvin Joseph are just varied. They're not issues that are similar to the ones you've heard about Parsons. And so I think that they've done everything they can to fix this defense, which is what everybody wanted them to do. And so you have to applaud their strategy here at the very least.
I do think as well, if you, not this is you, but if you are concerned about Parsons from a character standpoint, they've hedged that bet, right? Like that's part of what this is. And part of this is just value, but part of it is hedging that bet. Like, so, there's an influx. This is very exciting. It seems like we're going to have a more closer to normal, at least, offseason than last year, certainly. So it's exciting to consider what Dan Quinn's going to be able to do when he gets his hands on all of these players. Last comment before you leave, Bobby. Average Joe in all caps. Bro, I was begging them to pick Jabril all night. He is so value in round 4. He is so slept on. You're going to have depth of the linebacker room and offer help over the slot. Best pick by far for Dallas. Let's go.
Who is bro, you or me? Probably you, because you're bro Ochoa.
I think you. You've had.
I don't believe you said I was the first person to ever call you bro Ochoa. I just don't believe that's true.
That's true. So far, the only one too. No, like that is, despite your best efforts, has not caught on. Okay, I've said last question several times. This is really my last question. Jamar Johnson, who I don't think has gone in the time we've been talking. Say that's the pick at 138. How do you feel?
Great pick. He would have been about right value in the 3rd round, so getting him in the 4th would be big time. He's a solid safety. I would wonder, though, if they would take Caden Stearns over him.
I do think, San Antonio kid, Texas Longhorn. Went to the worst school in the state of Texas, but, we'll look past that. Bobby, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. You can follow him on Twitter at BobbyBeltTX. He will have a lot of great nuggets on these draft prospects as the weekend continues to unfold. Bobby, we love you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Love you, too. Love Calvin Ridley.
All right, everybody. So the Dallas Cowboys, now let's get you caught up here in terms of where they are at. They have 6 players, again, all defensive. The first time in Dallas Cowboys history that they have spent their first 6 picks on the defensive side of the ball. From top to bottom, Micah Parsons, Kelvin Joseph, Osa Odighizuwa. We're all getting better at pronouncing his last name. Chauncey Golston, Nashawn Wright last night surprised us all, but the Cowboys came back. They roped us back in, everybody. We're feeling good. We're feeling optimistic. The stars are shining. shining. Hope is in the air eternally. I thought my microphone was falling for a second. Jabril Cox out of LSU, the newest linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. So let's take a look at what picks are left for Dallas. Let's get this up here. The Cowboys will be on the clock next at pick 138 overall. After that selection is made, Kevin KT Turner from the Eagle and the Athletic will join us to talk about it. They will also pick at 179 overall. They will also pick at 192, 227, and 238. And that is obviously, of course, assuming they don't trade up. So the Cowboys still have 5 picks to work with, just under half of their overall draft picks to work with. Let's go. Average Joe says, this is what I'm saying. The fact that he fell through round 3 with his coverage skills is crazy. Talking about Jabril Cox. Michael Scarn says, I'm just glad it's finally defense. Again, I mean, for anybody who is upset, we have talked so much about how the Cowboys needed to address the defensive side of the ball. And I mean, they've done that. And, you know, Bobby has been saying since the draft started, sorry, I'm answering some messages here, that a great way to evaluate an overall draft class by a particular team is whether or not they executed their plan. And I think that the plan is clearly been for the Cowboys to improve on defense. And so if that's the plan, like if we look at things through that scope, it certainly feels like they're doing that. And we're, by the way, checking to see where things are with regards to the draft at this point, trying to see, because the television broadcast is very behind. Let me double check here for you. But again, to that point, the Cowboys really, the plan has clearly been to get better on defense. And I think they've done that. I don't see how you can look at what they've done through their first 6 picks and not feel like they ultimately have much better players on the defensive side of the ball. Heartless One says Darius Washington needs to be the next pick if he is there. Raul Duke says speed and length, if that's what it takes to make the analytics work, all good. I don't know that any of these picks have been analytically driven by the Cowboys. It's clear that they have some specific preferences, right? Then the Sean Wright pick is an example of that. The Jabril Cox pick, though, is clearly an example of being unable to ignore value as the Indianapolis Colts make their pick on the television broadcast. Now we're getting closer and closer and closer to the Cowboys being on the clock for the second time in the 4th round, their second 4th round pick this year. We just saw Chuba Hubbard went to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers having a nice little draft going on. K-Chill 0730 says, any chance the Cowboys reach for a quarterback in the 5th round and go with Sam Ehlinger? I don't think so. The Cowboys only have 1 pick in the 5th round. And if we're assuming that this next pick is safety, which is a fair assumption, I think at this point, I really doubt that the first offensive pick the Cowboys make in the draft is a quarterback. I think it's possible the Cowboys take a quarterback in the draft, maybe later on. But I mean, their first offensive pick, the Cowboys still need an offensive tackle. If we're putting together a wish list at this point, the Cowboys need an offensive tackle. They need a safety. Looking at this here, 2 tweets I want to read you here, by the way. First one is from David Moore, covers the Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News, noting that the Cowboys have added 11 new players in totality this offseason, 6 in the draft and 5 free agency to the defensive side of the ball. So over the course of the last 2 months, the Cowboys have added 11 players on defense. And so while we can sit here and we can moan and groan about how they're not doing this, they're not doing that, they are adding bodies. They're giving Dan Quinn options. And so while it was, somebody mentioned analytics a moment ago, like analytically, like through an analytical, lens, it's difficult to imagine the Cowboys defense will be as bad as it was last season, just because there's generally regression to the mean in some way, shape, or form when you live on one side of the extreme, like the Cowboys did defensively last year. So just by sheer luck or sheer normalcy, the Cowboys defense will improve next season. But when you factor in this influx of talent via free agency, this influx of talent via the draft, the Cowboys surely will have a much better defense in 2021 than they did in 20. But again, the bar is not that hard to clear. This is a very interesting tweet from Danny Rogers, Danny Phantom, if you are a Blogging the Boys reader, and if you're not, wow, that hurts. But Danny, one of our great writers that has moved on from Blogging the Boys, just tweeted out career interceptions. Anybody who doesn't know this, career interceptions, J.C. Horn, 2. Jabril Cox, 9. 9. So again, we're talking about a linebacker with some really great coverage skills, which, to be frank, is something that we haven't seen from a Dallas Cowboys linebacker really since Leighton Vander Esch's rookie year, just because of his supreme athleticism at the time and natural raw instincts and things like that. I mean, this has been an area where the Cowboys have struggled. And, we talk so much about what Dan Quinn had in Atlanta, obviously Deion Jones, and I'm not saying that this is anything like that, but the Cowboys are certainly getting closer to that than they've been in years past. Their linebackers, the Cowboys have had some of the most unathletic linebackers relative to the NFL average over the last 2 years, because Leighton Vander Esch has either been injured, either playing through injury or off the field entirely, and Jalen Smith has obviously been, what it is. Now, Travy maybe says, only thing keeping it from being an F is Parsons. I disagree with this. I didn't answer the question when I asked Bobby, but the Jabril Cox pick for me takes it from a C+ to like a B. I'll go even past a B-, because last night it really was difficult to understand what the Cowboys were thinking, especially there at the end. But here, the Cowboys got supreme value. And when you look at the class as a whole, like, forget where they got each guy. And I know that that's a hard thing to do. I think the Cowboys have bounced back nicely here, because when you consider that they have Jabril Cox on their team now, however it ultimately happens, I think that their draft is a B so far. I mean, if you agree with that, let me know. Let's go with your grade for the Cowboys. Christopher Summers says, I'm staying at C-. I'm sitting on a B. I'm sitting on a B because they have addressed linebacker in spades. We've been saying so much about how that is such a weak position. They've double dipped at corner and linebacker, which were the two weakest spots on the defense. I know they didn't get the players that a lot of people wanted, and believe me, I mean, I'm definitely bummed that Elijah Molden and Ifeatu Melifonwu were gone, or at least were on the board, and then now are gone. But they've doubled. I don't know that you could have, if the Cowboys were going to double dip at linebacker, which is something that made sense all along, I don't know how you could feel better about this. Yes, maybe you preferred Nick Bolton or whatever earlier last night, but these are two incredible linebacker prospects for the Dallas Cowboys. Again, if you believe in Dane Brugler's draft guide, and if you don't, what are you doing with your life? These are two of the top 6 draft prospects at linebacker for the Cowboys overall. Ben Elf says B. United Resurgence says B, if we can get a safety with his next pick. I agree. Jeff Cogg says B. C. Laws says C. Travy says the NFC East has had a good draft as a whole, though. I agree with that. I mean, like that certainly makes this tough. The NFC East is having a great draft. New York's having a great draft, not just specifically with regards to the players they're selecting, but they obviously got the first-round pick in 2022 from the Chicago Bears, just monitoring things, making sure all is well. And Washington's having a great draft. Joseph says LVE, no fifth year, and Jalen can get cut around June. There's no way Jalen Smith is getting cut this year at this point. His salary, he's already got guaranteed money on the books, but it would not surprise me. I really thought, entering – I guess as recent as like 30 minutes ago, I thought the Cowboys might still pick up Leighton Vander Esch's 5th-year option. And for what it's worth, they still could, because, I mean, we now know, obviously, the Cowboys have Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, but it's not inconceivable that Leighton Vander Esch, and granted, he'd be making $9 million, but he could be the 3rd linebacker as part of their overall top group in 2022. Let's answer it this way. Swaggy says, I would make a great therapist. Appreciate it. Look, we're trying to get this together. The fact that we can is again, the sickest thing. I would like your answers to this question here. And so let's go ahead and give us your answers in the comments. If you can have Micah Parsons, Jabril Cox, and either Leighton Vander Esch for Jalen Smith in 2022. So you're taking the 2 players that the Cowboys have drafted this year, in Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, and you're answering which of Jalen or Leighton would you rather have as the trio in 2022. Just 2022. Your answers. Jalen Smith or Leighton Vander Esch. Let's go. Whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on Twitter. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're not, make sure you go subscribe to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. We have a lot of things that we do all the time. We do a live stream, lots of times, because we know that, it is what it is. We want to all be here hanging out together. Wow. The answer's starting to roll in. I'm a little bit fascinated here. We've got Aiden says Jalen. Eric says I keep Jalen. Big Shoots this is the cheat answer, not to call you out, Big Shoots, but LVE healthy. Justin says LVE. Kevin Shirley says Vander Esch. Will says LVE. Travis says LVE. Dallas Martin says Jalen. I mean, this is actually, split. But Raul asks really the important question, how healthy is LVE, though? And that's what this ultimately boils down to. And so maybe the question is what are you more confident in here? Are you more confident in, with regards to 2022 specifically, Leighton Vander Esch's health, or Jalen Smith not being a disaster? And I don't mean to just pick on Jalen, because I know that happens a lot. David, with a rational answer, says, I'll decide after a year in Dan Quinn, excuse me. I mean, I'm honestly more confident that Leighton's health is more reliable. Really, that's where I'm at. Like, and if I have to have one in 2022, Logan Sparks says Jalen, because I feel he is safer because of Leighton Vander Esch's health. See, like, that is such a screaming indictment against Leighton's health when you really think about it. Like, if you're at a place, and I'm not saying that any of you are wrong in the logic that you're using to arrive to this conclusion, but if you are so worried about Leighton Vander Esch's health that you are more confident in Jalen Smith's prospects as a linebacker, as Kevin says, Jalen is a liability in coverage. I mean, wow. And ultimately, though, we're kind of also answering the question as to why this pick is awesome here, right? At the same time, like in talking about this, in therapizing this and in thinking about this really does justify the overall mold of this class. Think about this for a second. I don't know why I have my headphones on still, by the way. But think about this. Dr. Drew letting us know, man, not a cool thing here. That Tommy Togiai just got picked. Where did he go? The Cleveland Browns just took him. That sucks so much. Wow, that sucks. Not cool. But so think about that. There are a lot of people in this stream with us right now who believe that Jalen's talents are more reliable than Leighton Vander Esch's health. Okay. That's fair. Like, that's a fair conclusion to come to. And again, the linebacker we're talking about here is Jalen Smith. So that is terrifying, right? Like in a vacuum, that is really terrifying. And maybe that's a great argument for not picking up Leighton's option on Monday. So all that being said, do you not feel much better now that, like, let's step out of this conversation? Do you not feel so much better that the Cowboys just drafted Micah Parsons on Thursday? Because our confidence in Leighton Vander Esch is so minimal that half of you, more than half, I'd say like 60 to 65%, would rather bet on Jalen Smith. How are you not over the moon that the Cowboys now have Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox? And so while we look at this draft class as a whole, a lot of people are upset about it. The picks that border this class at the moment, as we come up on pick 138, we are now about 6 selections away. I mean, you've addressed an incredible Achilles heel on your team. And that's an important thing here. If Logan Sparks says, I feel a lot better. Sparks fly. It's like electricity. Taylor Swift once told us that. Dre says, I feel great about Parsons and Cox. And look, we tend to harp on draft classes and we say, like, oh, this player is not that great, whatever. If the Cowboys walk away with 2 starting linebackers from this class, I mean, we obviously have hopes for everybody else and the players the Cowboys have yet to pick. But if they walk away with 2 linebackers that can start for them for the next 4 years over the life of these rookie contracts, that's already a win, right? I mean, the Cowboys have given themselves an escape hatch when it comes to the weakest portion of their defense. I know that safety is a weak spot, but the Cowboys have addressed safety in a quantitative sense. Let's take a look at the safety depth chart for the Cowboys right now. This offseason, the Cowboys brought in DeMonte KZ and Jaron Kearse. They obviously had Stephen Parker, Darian Thompson, and Donovan Wilson. All right, so there's a lot of people who believe in Donovan Wilson. I'm a Fighting Texas Aggie myself, and I think it would be irresponsible if the Cowboys just kind of like relied on that, but it is what it is. And so overall, the Cowboys have added 2 safeties in free agency. Let's get our corner depth chart up here. Where is it? Corners. Where are you? Right here. The Cowboys, keep in mind, Kelvin Joseph now a part of this, but they now have Kelvin along with Anthony Brown, talking about legit corners here. Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Reggie Robinson, we all have hopes for. I mean, and so I think we can kind of live with the situation and I'm not saying that that's the expectation or that's the ideal result, but there are things that we like, right? Like there are things that there are potentials, there are hopes, there are future, dreams about what exists at corner and what exists at safety, right? That is a real thing. A lot of people like the DeMonte Casey signing. We'll see if Keanu Neal is playing more safety, especially now. Think about this. We've been talking about this. We did a recap video that's going to be up on our YouTube channel after day 2. We'll obviously do another recap video after day 3 is completely over. But we talked about how the Micah Parsons pick might allow Keanu Neal to play more safety than was originally thought when the Cowboys first signed him. We heard about he was going to play weak side linebacker, whatever. Well, the Cowboys have just drafted 2 linebackers now. So they may have effectively really allowed Keanu Neal to play more safety. And so, again, not that I'm a fan of like 2 birds, 1 stone, but you can, if you start to peel the onion of this back layer by layer, like ogres tend to be, there's a lot of logic here, and the logic exists for some of these picks. The logic is a little bit more absent for like Nashawn Wright and Chauncey Golston, and I agree with that. But you know that it's fair to feel good here, I think, is my point, and I'm certainly feeling more optimistic about the state of the Cowboys right now, and I think that you are just based on all of the comments here, because the Cowboys, they're back. They're they look how easy it is to rope us back in. You make one great pick. And speaking of picks, let's see here. Just to catch you up, the Bucks took North Texas legend Jalen Darden, so he is now headed to Tampa Bay. Let's see here. Ed Werder with a nice note here from ESPN. Jabril Cox is the first LSU front 7 player picked by the Cowboys since Marcus Spears back in 2005. So the Cowboys, getting a nice front 7 player. Christian Estrada says, so who's not playing Jalen? I mean, I don't think any of us are. I think the Cowboys are, but a big deal here. You never root for players to get cut, right? Like nobody does. However, I thought, I wrote about in the offseason, or still in the offseason, but about how the Cowboys could kind of send a message if they cut Jalen Smith, right? That they were more committed to different things, just because Jalen has kind of been this example of, if you want to call it nepotism within the Cowboys, but catering to players who they seem to have higher, focuses or higher priorities on for whatever reasons. Obviously, a lot of people feel a lot of ways about Jalen Smith. And so obviously they didn't cut him. His salary is now guaranteed. You can't cut him. That wouldn't be smart at this point in time. But the Cowboys are clearly done with letting Jalen Smith just have his way, right? Like the snaps and the attention and the playing time has been Jalen's unequivocally, really since 2018. And granted, he played very well in 2018, but Jalen has, if there is a Cowboy player who has not suffered any, quote unquote, fallout for his poor play over the last 2 years, it's certainly Jalen Smith. You could, and maybe number 2 on that list is Leighton Vander Esch. And so the Cowboys have now very, very, very clearly said, we're not settling anymore at linebacker. They ultimately still have some, things to address at corner. But it is what it is. So what do we think here? Let's transition away from the linebacker conversation, because I think we're all happy. We're all thrilled. The Cowboys got a great value. So what do we want to see? Let's go with positions here. What position do you want to see the Cowboys address as we come up about 4 picks away from pick 138 overall? Where do you want to see the Dallas Cowboys go? Because there are options here. They could go defensive tackle. They still haven't taken a safety. They still haven't taken an offensive tackle. Where do you want to see the Cowboys go right here? Let's get a swig of water. Mike's secret stuff. Ian Book just went to the New Orleans Saints, according to KT Turner, who will join us momentarily. That sucks, if I'm being honest. But let's see here. Lots of responses for offensive line. Lots of responses for safety. Okay, so nobody wants to go defensive tackle. That's my bad here. Let's see here. Let's cycle through. We've been busy here, so correct me if I'm wrong if any of these safeties are gone. But Bobby mentioned him a moment ago when he was on. Hamza Nasiruddin, I believe, is still on the board. Jamar Johnson still on the board. I don't think anybody's taken him. Safety is an option. Sam G says, I have a feeling, Sam, that you're going to get an answer here of no. Am I the only one who really likes Caden Stearns? Chris Killens, in all caps, Jamar Johnson. Again, I mean, an option. Dane Brugler has a 3rd, 4th round grade on him coming out of Indiana. I mean, and by the way, the Saints pick just now in Ian Book from Notre Dame going to the New Orleans Saints, maybe the quarterback of the future for there. Yeah, that will be very interesting to see what happens, obviously, in a Drew Brees-less world. But okay. Checking. Everything seems fine. Okay. Sorry, just making sure everything's good here. I think safety is in play here. There are options. Again, if we're talking about offensive tackles, I don't know. And clearly the Cowboys are not that concerned. And I find that to be interesting. When the Cowboys went with Micah Parsons over Rashawn Slater, we talked about it here on the live show about how they were kind of telling everybody that they felt more confident in the future, at least the immediate short-term future of both Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins than they did in Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. And they have now even doubled down on that conviction, as we've talked about with the selection of Jabril Cox. I believe, no, Sam Cosmi went last night. Let's see here. Who's your favorite offensive tackle option? If you are team offensive tackle at 138 overall, who do you want? Let's go with who do we have here? I'm checking here who is still available, and who do you want? Sam G says, I mean, I liked Steele and Knight as the season went on last year, talking about Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight as, you know, swing tackle options for the Cowboys, and that's fair. And a point I've brought up a lot over this offseason has been that the Cowboys are in a very unique position in that they're two young depth tackle options in both Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele are in their second and third years respectively. Terrence is second, Brandon is third, and they have legitimate experience starting in the NFL, which isn't always the case for your backup tackles. The Cowboys also, don't forget, signed Ty Nsekhe this offseason to be probably their true swing tackle. So ultimately, you know, they do have some options. So Deontay Smith is what David Medina is talking about out of East Carolina, I believe, still available. And so maybe although here, if I'm picking here, I think the answer is safety. Clint Jones says, is Shaun Wade still available? I think so, actually. I don't believe Shaun has gone off the board. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he is. Let's see here. Okay, cool. No, we're well. A tweet from the Dallas Morning News is Michael Gelkin. Dating back to free agency, Cowboys been looking at improving coverage ability at linebacker. Yeah, you think. Also wanted more contribution on special teams from linebacker depth. Fair to wonder if the team would have picked Jabril Cox on Friday had Micah Parsons not been picked on Thursday. Must be thrilled to get both. That's an interesting question. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But if, say, the Cowboys had taken Rashawn Slater, maybe they do take Jabril Cox on Friday night, you know, because it is what it is. Darren asks, what do we think of the Giants draft? Kadarius Toney obviously walked away with Aziz, I believe. I mean, the Giants, and again, the Giants building up future capital. The Giants are having the best draft of the NFC East. I really hate to say that, but it is the case. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings have taken Janarius Robinson, which means there are now 3 picks left before the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. Kevin KT Turner will join us to discuss whoever the Cowboys pick. Joe Manzari tweets at me. Joe, are you watching here? If so, respect on getting to me on Twitter. It says Marvin Wilson at 138. Who's a fan of Marvin Wilson at 138? I believe still available. This is the day where we're checking, you know, everybody who's still left, who's out. Marvin Wilson, again, 5th round grade, according to Dane Brugler. So you're technically reaching in that sense because we are still in the 4th round. But, you know, let's see here, just making sure everything is all set. Okay, we're all good here. Let's look comments. Jeff Cogg says Wilson, yes. Okay, let's boil this down to some options then. Let's say at defensive tackle, let's call it Marvin Wilson. At safety, we'll call it Jamar Johnson, and at tackle, we'll call it Deontay Smith. So if those are your options right now, you are in charge of the Dallas Cowboys war room right now. Yes, talking directly to you, looking right in your eyes. All right, who do you pick? If it's Marvin Wilson, it's Jamar Johnson, or it's Deontay Smith. You can go D tackle, you can go safety, you can go offensive tackle. What are you doing and why? Loyal King Royal says, is this live? It is live and live in color, baby. We'll be here all day long. We will have a stream for every single round. This is our round 4 stream. When this is over, we'll go to round 5, then we'll go to round 6, then we'll go to round 7 because we are sick about the Dallas Cowboys. We love this. And then after that, guess what? We will have an undrafted free agent show where we will cover all the UDFAs that the Dallas Cowboys are signing. So let's see. Raul says Jamar Johnson. Punjabi says Jamar Johnson. Loyal King Royal says, I thought Periscope ended. Not. We're back. We ain't going anywhere. Sam G says, I think you have to take a defensive tackle. Christopher says, I think stop the run is the name of the game. We've got Eric, a fan of let's see, no, sorry, I've lost this here. C says Homson and Cyril Dean. We were talking Jamar Johnson, but obviously another safety option. The Ravens have traded. The Ravens have traded out with the Arizona Cardinals. Rashad Weaver has gone to the Tennessee Titans at 135. We're getting very close. Let's see here. Our own Connor Livesey just tweeted out, I'm absolutely begging for James Wiggins or Ardarius Washington for the Cowboys. We'll happily take Tui Paluto, Stone Forsyth, Smith, Roche, Wilson is a fan, or Jamar Johnson. Lots of options for the Cowboys here. And we've been saying that so far throughout the draft and come up shy. But again, okay, so the Tennessee Titans pick is officially in. The Seattle Seahawks now are on the clock after the Arizona Cardinals picked. Okay, so the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock, which means we are very close to the Dallas Cowboys being on the clock, and officially one pick away now. So we are getting very, very, very close to another pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I will say lots of proponents for defensive tackle. Let's see. A lot of you do prefer defensive tackle right here for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm gonna go Jamar Johnson. That's where and last night we talked a lot and we tried to manifest Ifeatu Melifonwu to the Cowboys. That did not work. But looking at what the Cowboys have done, they have taken, let's get this draft class up here so far. They've taken 2 linebackers in Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, obviously. They've taken a corner twice over in Kelvin Joseph and Nashawn Wright, and they have a defense. They've taken 2 defensive linemen. So if you think about this, they've addressed, each level of the defense twice over except for safety. Granted, they've taken 1 tackle and 1 in, so not exactly the same thing. But Shaun Wade is still there, by the way, if they want a 3rd corner, which I think would make people feel a lot better about the Nashawn Wright pick. And keep in mind, the Cowboys are going to have to wait a little bit here. This is going to be the longest the Cowboys have had to wait in some time after 138. So whatever you're taking here, it means you like him a lot more than the rest of the group here. The Arizona Cardinals have taken at pick 136 Marco Wilson, another safety. So that makes me go safety. If we're going to start to see a run on safety here, we just saw one go 136 to Arizona. I think you have to take a safety right now if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You've already, you've flirted with the line. Ardarius Washington is an option as well if you want to do that. You obviously missed out on Morig last night, but I think this has to be a safety just because you don't have one yet, and you're going to have to wait a long time. If the run is going to start, we're waiting to see what the Seattle Seahawks are doing here. But yes, the Cardinals pick is officially, and they have taken Marco Wilson, just to be clear here. Waiting to find out what the Seattle Seahawks have done. Nope, no word yet. But again, this has to be a safety in my mind. I really do think this, especially I'm curious to see what Seattle does. No, that's the Vikings pick. We don't need the Vikings pick. We're so far past the Vikings pick. The Seattle Seahawks. Okay, let's get this up here. The Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock. The Seattle Seahawks have taken Trey Brown with the 137th overall pick. All right, people. The Cowboys on the clock. Let's see here. A wise word from Captain Linsano. They should just draft the best player they like. Duh. I mean, of course. Okay. Day says, give me Stearns or Jamar Johnson. I'm not a big Caden Stearns fan. I know there's certainly a lot of people that are, but let's go safety. I mean, we've seen back-to-back DBs go. I think this has to be a safety. Christopher Lozano says best safety. Hayden Crow says Jamar Johnson. Watsamata says go DT. I can't say all that. Go defensive tackle. Let's see. Lonnie, a fan of Jamar Johnson. I think this has to be a safety. All right, let's see. Waiting for what the Cowboys are going to do here. This pick should be here any moment. I mean, just hang on here. Hold. I feel like Mel Gibson. Hold. What are the Cowboys doing? Checking. And by the way, Kevin KT Turner will join us after this pick to talk about it. Who is it? Come on, Twitter, give it to us. We need to know who the Cowboys just took. Come on. Let's go. Let's see. Let's get a swig of water as we wait. By the way, if you haven't joined us yet, this is where Twitter is for me. We've got a whole command center set up. I promise I'm not avoiding you. I like looking over here. It's just, we've got to keep up with the information. Okay. Here we go, people. Here we go. Hold on, buckle up, get ready, because the pick is in. With the 138th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys have taken Marshall offensive tackle Josh Ball. So the Cowboys finally on the board with an offensive tackle. Your thoughts, your initial grades, A, B, C, D, F. Josh Ball, the pick for the Dallas Cowboys, the Marshall tackle. James, goodness gracious. Dane Brugler from The Athletic has Ball as his 17th offensive tackle as a 5th round pick. This is still the 4th round. But the Cowboys needed an offensive tackle. Juan says, told y'all. Yes, Juan did. Let's go ahead and get our invitation over to KT so he can join us. Maybe he'll be able to calm us down. The invitation now sent to KT. As we come back here, Twitter is flying. Let me tell him, all right, we've got it sent. And let's see. Josh Ball. So the Cowboys going tackle. I think Michael says W-. This is okay. This was a necessary thing, and so is safety. But man alive, the Cowboys have now gone 7 picks without addressing the safety position. Jerome says B, we need depth there. I agree with that. Hayden says underwhelming. And look, I think it's underwhelming because we're coming off of the Jabril Cox pick. We were in a state of euphoria right now here for a little bit here, but this was the Cowboys went a long time before addressing anything on offense, and they finally have done so. They've got a tackle. They now have options. We'll see, obviously, what happens with Ty Nsekhe past 2021. We'll see how much the Cowboys ultimately believe in Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele. But look, Dallas Martin says, I'm okay with it. We need the depth. Morgan says, after 6 straight picks on defense, I'm fine with this. Yeah, I think that this is fine. Like, this is a fine moment. Ultimately, the Cowboys, I know a lot of people wanted Deontay Smith. He was still available, I believe. I'm just making certain. KT's tweet right now, he's about to join us. I actually like Josh Ball. He's so long, just needs to be stronger in the run game. He's a really good, projectable guy. I actually love it. Others would have taken here, sure, but I needed them to take an offensive tackle today, and this is a good prospect here. In fact, let's go ahead. The man who wrote that tweet joins us now, Kevin KT Turner. KT, how goes it? How is your Saturday going?
It's beautiful. I'm on the couch and it's dark in my house, and I'm just sitting here. I'm about to get some pizza, and then it's not going to move. And I like this pick. I actually like this pick. This is okay. I wanted to go offensive tackle at some point. I hope we all did because of the issues there. And the games that I watched from Josh Ball, I didn't one time see him get beat around the edge. And that's because of his length. I mean, again, he's 6'8". Like, that's an awesome thing. Those guys do get top heavy. Those guys do have, situations where they don't move as well, but his reach was able to keep people from getting around him. I guess his official measurements, 6'7", just under 6'7.5", 35-inch arms. I mean, like, he's a behemoth. But that's the thing. Just it's all about the movement skills, and I think technique a little bit, and that can be coached up because I don't need him to play this year. I hope.
Right.
So,
who was the Arkansas tackle they got that was like 6'10"? You know who I'm talking about? Like 2 years ago.
Dan Skipper. I actually talked to him a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Not quite like, ultra giant, but tall, certainly, and a project tackle. This is what they needed. They need, I mean, again, I don't think anybody's like going to sleep easy with Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele, but I mean, they have them behind Ty Nsekhe. This is a project. That's what it is. And if it's your first offensive player taken after you've devoted like more, over half of your resources to the defensive side of the ball at this point, I don't know how you're upset about this.
No, absolutely. I think the one thing that I would say, and by the way, background on Josh Ball, I mean, he was a Florida State guy. I mean, he went to Florida State, and then he had to move. He had off the field issues, and that's important to talk about. I almost feel bad about glossing over that because that is one thing when, I watched the tape on Josh Ball, had some pretty good notes on him, and then you find out a little more and you go, oh, maybe I don't like this guy as much because of some things. He had a couple of allegations of domestic abuse. So, I mean, that needs to get thrown out there, right? But like, he transferred to Marshall after he went to a community college. And then, last year, just only 8 games, but he played really good. He played right tackle. So, I mean, look, again, this is a project. This is not, they also signed a swing tackle this year. So This is not some guy who, you're counting on to take over for Tyron. God forbid Tyron gets hurt or whatever. I don't think that's what you're talking about. I think what you're doing is you're looking at your board and saying, we needed an offensive tackle. And we've seen them draft for need quite a bit in this draft. And you go to the offensive tackle board, who's available. And for them, it was Josh Ball. I might have had a couple names. I liked Deontay Smith from East Carolina. I liked Adrian Ely a little bit from Oklahoma, but Josh Ball's right in that mix, based on his tape.
So, KT, what are your thoughts on the character concerns amid the overall class, given that this is a team that I don't want to say had character issues last year, but certainly had moments where the locker room was more fragile than it has been in years past. So going Micah Parsons and Kelvin Joseph immediately, and now going with another character red flag. Red flag is such an aggressive term, but three of their 7 picks now have issues in that capacity, which is, I mean, now it's not just a coincidence. Now it's a common thread across 3 different players.
Okay, so there's one thing I'd say. I think you thought you a good word there in fragile. I think that's a good word because whatever it was, there was some tension of some sort. Right. Now I could do the old Norm Macdonald joke from the ESPYs where he talked about if the Cowboys want to get back to winning Super Bowls, they've got to go back to the cocaine and strippers. But I don't think it's that type of thing. Like I think my issue is both of those guys having questions. Like with Micah Parsons, just because I would have taken Ron Slater over Micah Parsons doesn't make Micah Parsons a bad pick. He was one of the top 12, 13 guys clearly in this draft. And there will be multiple games this year where you go, Micah Parsons was the best player we had on defense. Like that will happen. You go to, and Deontay Smith just went at 139 to the Bengals, who I liked a little bit more. But, and then, with Kelvin Joseph, that's where I kind of would have gone in a different direction. The things that you hear about Kelvin Joseph, I'm very careful about this stuff because I typically don't care, but you don't want to double down. And this was different because with Kelvin Joseph, it was not one person or 2 people. It was multiple people reaching out and saying, man, I know we all like his tape a little bit, but here's what I'm hearing. And it just gets around at some point. So, hopefully it works out. Hopefully it's fine. But I just don't it's a dangerous thing, right? It's a dangerous thing. And to me, when you had other guys, I'm kind of like pulling up my board and I was sitting there going, God, I bet Paulson and Debo would have been a lot of fun right there. And you can play those games all day, though. I mean, that's what the draft's about. You can play those games all day and compare it. It's a touch of an issue, but hey, man, getting good players is what this business is about, right? The Cowboys' bottom line has been affected over the last couple of years, and quite frankly, they were embarrassed by their defense. So character concerns be damned. Let's get them good players.
You mentioned the classic Norm Macdonald line. We got a comment here. It says we're done with the Boy Scout players. Another common, line. We need, get the choir boys out, get the Boy Scouts out. I don't buy that they're like, let's just go opposite end of the spectrum. But I guess I mean, and people like, it's not like Jason Garrett's era never oversaw a questionable pick in this capacity. It just feels like they're just taking the players they like, red flags be damned.
It's not Greg Hardy. Like, right. This is more, to me, it's more about Tyrone Crawford is gone. Sean Lee is gone. It's more of things like that because, you want that type of, and it's those things. That's why they were so interested in J.C. Horn because J.C. Horn is like natural leadership type stuff. So you can't one day tell me that you want to change the culture and say that you like all these things about these guys and then completely go in the opposite direction. And that's where I kind of get a little annoyed by them. But Kelvin Joseph's he's a good player. They needed an outside corner who had a little bit of length, and they got it. Again, to me, now that you got Jabril Cox too, don't you kind of feel like Rashawn Slater would have been like a better pick? I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of people on the Parsons train, and I like Parsons fine, but I thought Slater was a better player. I thought there was super high-end, long-term potential, for Rashawn Slater to just ease in and take over for Tyron after one more year. But, maybe Tyron's got 4 years left. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're playing hindsight, you could have gone Rashawn Slater, Nick Bolton, Jabril Cox, right? So, like, if you're playing, give me 2 linebackers and a tackle, I think people like that better than Parsons, Cox, and now Josh Ball. But I mean, again, your tweets, over the last year have been honest and not buying, everything that the head of the team says. And you're right. Like, I mean, the idea that, they're talking about character, like that's where they don't do themselves favor, I suppose. And that's why, like, these picks, raise such eyebrows, right? Because they are so publicly advocating we're changing the culture, and then you tell us that, and then you spend 3 of your first 7 picks on guys that have these really, really, really prominent question marks. And so it's kind of like yesterday in the Micah Parsons press conference, Mike McCarthy saying that he wasn't on the Zoom call with Micah. Like, you don't have to say that, and so in one sense, while I appreciate the honesty, you're only injecting confusion and hysteria when you do these types of things. And so, like, just stop saying, if I mean, this is up to the Cowboys, they're the ones building this football team. If they really, it seems like they must not care as much as they say they do about these character concerns. Just stop saying it, because you're making yourself look bad in the process. No,
there's no doubt about it. And we're also in this world where we haven't had the ability to have a ton of access, right, with COVID and all that stuff, and that changes things, and that gets you guessing. So when they do say things, it's like, well, the few things you've said, we have to, like, we're listening to it a little more closely.
Right.
It's all very confusing. I thought our buddy Kavanaugh had a tweet that was pretty good, Jeff Kavanaugh, and it said, if you move the Jabril Cox pick to 75 and you just bump everyone down one, we're all feeling like a lot better about things. And I would agree, because Jabril Cox to me makes up for the experiment at 99,
Right.
And I think anyone who's gone back, I've had a small, I haven't seen enough, but I've got a chance to watch like one game of him, Nashawn Wright, who they took at 99. And I go, okay, I mean, not 99, and I saw our buddy Dan Turner from over in Europe, and he would have had a 4th or 5th round grade on him. So it makes me, I feel like a little better about that. But last night I went to bed going, what the hell are we doing? So,
yeah. I mean, it is. So, okay, the Jabril Cox pick roped a lot of people back in and got the day started off on an awesome note, right? Okay, great. You're finally achieving value. So if that was 1 foot back forward, where are we now? Have we moved? Have we inched backward at all? I mean, from a football only sense, because I think if you're just looking at the football of it all, again, our buddy Dane Brugler had him as a 5th round pick, so technically a reach in that capacity. But if he's your guy, he's your guy right here. But still, you got to tackle, right? Like you achieved it. We had Bobby Belt on a little while ago. He's been harping all draft long about how, the best way to kind of grade a draft is did they execute their plan? And so if their plan was to exit round 4 with a lot of defensive help and an offensive tackle, they've done that in a quantitative sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it was clearly a needs draft for them. And I hate when that happens, because you're drafting for guys for 4 years.
Right.
So your needs, because of a salary cap, are going to change every single year. Like, it's just what it is. And sometimes certain needs don't go away because of a lack of production at areas that you drafted. And that's kind of why we've been still looking at cornerbacks and linebackers, right? But, I would say that. I saw, too, the Packers took Royce Newman, offensive lineman from Ole Miss, at 142. And I liked him a little more than Ball as well, because he could play all 5 positions on the offensive line. And I would like to have an option if Biadasz isn't the guy at center. I would like to have an option if we never really find a spot for Connor McGovern, or if Connor Williams continues to, not be maybe what you hoped he would, or if Lyle gets hurt or tired. There's so much that could happen there. But I do think they have accomplished what they wanted. Needs, probably one of the things secretly, as dumb as it sounds, is probably we got to give Dan Quinn a pick. And I'm not sure that I totally agree with that, but that was probably one of their needs. Give Dan Quinn a pick. So I feel better about it. It's not an A+. It's not a perfect draft, but, I feel better about the defense. I tell you that much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think now my biggest question, because we're always okay, what's this? You mentioned it. What's 2022 look like now? You could have a problem at guard, right? I mean, we're talking about, and not even just guard, like along the entire interior. Zach Martin's obviously starting to wear down. I think ultimately no confidence is waning in his talents and his abilities, but still, Connor Williams, you mentioned, but in a contract year, are they going to pay Connor Williams? Because I don't think that either of us think that. What's going to happen if you don't pay Connor Williams and Tyler Biadasz isn't the guy, and the Connor McGovern experiment doesn't take off in year, what are we now, 4? No, year 3, sorry. And so then you've got him entering his own contract year next year. So you're talking about a potential reality where they have to either replace 2 starters along the offensive line or have to replace one and deal with a dissatisfactory player in Tyler Biadasz, when, to your point, if you had taken a player with more versatility along the offensive line, you would at least have kind of hedged that bet in the future. But if you like him enough as a tackle, I mean, do it. But you can't solve all of your problems. But now that is a huge question mark that's looming.
And who knows, maybe they're the types like, well, we've got Brandon Knight still, and we think Brandon Knight can play guard and tackle. And I know everyone's rolling their eyes at that. I'm trying to talk about how they might view things for a reality-centered answer. Also, RJ, would you go with me that at some point a one-technique defensive tackle and a safety today would kind of be nice to add to the mix?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking right before you joined. Had this been Jamar Johnson, I think we'd be feeling better right now. He's still on the board, as our commenters note. Had this been Ardarius Washington, I don't know if he's gone since we started talking, I think we'd feel better. You said this when you first showed up, but they had to walk away with a tackle, and they did that at least. But so if you're being not obtuse, but if you're being obtuse about it, they did that. And so, if one of those safeties falls, again, I think they're both still there. But that's ultimately a win, I guess. But yeah, it's another year, man, where here we are, and they're going to get 178 picks in, barring a move up, without addressing the safety. I love Donovan Wilson. Xavier Woods is great. You helped manifest that into existence, 4 years ago now. But you cannot just continually, bank on 5th and 6th round picks at safety and hope that that's going to be what saves you.
Yeah, Gillespie, the safety from Missouri, just went. That's a pretty decent name. And you threw out there Jamar Johnson. Yeah, I'm not as high on Ardarius Washington as I think everyone else is, especially our buddy Kavanaugh, who's kind of, made him a big name. But the DeMar Hamlin, a guy from Pitt at safety, I kind of like, because that is a very smart, high IQ player who was kind of in charge of dealing with the assignments in the secondary. And I think that's something that's always very helpful. Going down, I mean, in Texas here, Caden Stearns, some people might like him. As far as a one-technique DT, Kairos Tonga, to me, makes a lot of sense. And, one of those guys with the wrestling background and all that stuff, but just kind of go. And I know they like Antoine Woods and all that stuff, but get another body and let's just keep recycling it. And RJ, real quick, dude, I want to read this because I don't know if I said it much. Can I read this from Dane's guide about Josh Ball on his?
You can read anything you want, KT. Sarah, read Old Man in the Sea if you want. I mean, it's up to you.
That is one of my favorite books. So Josh Ball, I'm reading this from Dane Brugler's draft guide, The Beast, over on The Athletic, all right? He says that Ball was suspended from Florida State in 2018 after a Title IX investigation determined he was responsible for domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend. According to news reports, his girlfriend filed for an injunction for protection against domestic violence and reported to police in September 2017 2 instances of alleged battery. He played 2018 at Butler County Community College and planned to return to Tallahassee after the university approved his reinstatement, but he elected to transfer to Marshall for his final 2 seasons of eligibility. So, that's kind of what happened to Tyreek Hill. Got in trouble, had to go to at Oklahoma State, had to go to a small school. He did his year at small and up to, but that stuff's not good. Right. That stuff's not good. But the Cowboys will do their homework and they'll feel comfortable about it and make a selection. And without knowing anymore, I don't really have too much else to say. But Dane's draft guide kind of gives you the specific details rather than me just coming out and saying, he's got a domestic abuse thing in the past. Let's just get the details from Dane's guide first. So
different things too. Like everything is different in that sense. But now the Cowboys have 2 guys who aren't just character concerns, but character concerns to where they had to leave their programs in Kelvin Joseph, right? Had to leave. And we're talking about Florida State and LSU big time and had to go to Marshall and Kentucky. I mean, no disrespect to any fans of those, programs, but obviously lower levels of college football. Yeah. That didn't like, even if you didn't know what happened, that I think already, causes pause, right? Like, okay, these big time programs had enough of these players who the Cowboys are spending, picks in the 2nd and 4th round on. And that's an uncomfortable feeling. Obviously you have to trust the Cowboys evaluation. KT, before you leave, let's go with your favorite pick of the Cowboys so far, your least favorite pick, and your right in the middle pick, because they do have 7, so it provides an opportunity for a nice middle point.
Yeah, my favorite pick is Jabril Cox at that value at 115. I really love that value. And I do think Chauncey Golston at 84 is solid, even if it might have been a little early. I was a big fan of this team adding at least 1 defensive end, at least 1 just in case. My least favorite is clearly Nashawn Wright. Yeah. And I think that speaks for everyone in Cowboys country, right? Almost. I know there's a few people coming around. And again, unfairly, I haven't seen his tape. So, but I trust Dane Brugler a lot. And when his 38th ranked cornerback goes at pick 99 in a draft that 32 teams are picking in, that's insane. And I don't know how it happens.
But all respect, Dane's a beast, but you're a beast too. And so the fact that you haven't, watched this dude's tape is, you didn't, because you certainly didn't expect him to go in the top 100 picks, and that's where people are caught off guard by.
Yeah. And I'll say this though, to be fair, when I quit 105.3 The Fan a couple of years ago, that took me off day 2 and 3 of the draft on the Cowboys website because they have to simulcast with my former station. So instead of doing 300 players, I did 200 players this year. So if I would have done 300 players, there's still a pretty good chance I wouldn't have got to Nashawn Wright, but maybe I would have.
That's fair. That's a nice positive spin, I suppose. Kevin KT Turner, you can see him at The Athletic as well. You can hear him on the Eagle. And what is the new show, KT, that's going on here? Give us a plug.
Okay, yeah. So I'll promote everything real quick. I'm on the Bennett Skin Show, 2 to 5 p.m. on 97.1 The Eagle. Don't be weirded out that it's a rock station. We don't play music. We're just a talk show. We still talk Cowboys. We still talk all that stuff. It's just a little less sports for no reason. We just do everything. The Kevin Turner Show podcast is up on iHeart. Just getting started there with my buddy Jesse Cubinet from the Kimmel Show, a good friend of mine who works on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Me and him do a podcast now. So please go auto-download the Kevin Turner Show podcast. I need help. And then, the draft show's still having me around every once in a while. And I do About Them Cowboys on The Athletic as well. And then coming in December, a new TV show, hopefully hitting all markets in Texas, Sports and Such, the TV show. So keep an eye on that.
KT, one of the best people in the world. And the very first thing I identified as a hallmark of yours, KT, you recognize the greatness of Joel McHale, but specifically of Community. There aren't enough people that understand that to be a great show. So thank you for leading the brigade in that capacity.
If you're not watching Community, that's like the equivalent of taking Deshaun Wright on day 2. Like you can have it, you can watch it, but watch it on day 3. No, like Community is an excellent show. I missed the soup. I wish it would come back. But yeah, if Community's on Netflix, there's no excuses anymore. People get there and watch it all.
I agree. Kevin, KT, Turner, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and for, I guess, talking us down about Josh Ball. But it is what it is. Hey, man, thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the draft.
Thank you, RJ. Doing great work as always, man. You're a man. Love you. You're the.
Not sorry to cut KT off right there. Okay. This is okay. Let's read this tweet, by the way. About 2 tweets here from Josh Ball, or about Josh Ball, just as KT leaves. One from Calvin Watkins. According to an Orlando Sentinel story, Josh Ball, remember, as KT noted, coming from Florida State, while at Florida State had, quote, 11 incidents during which Ball showed aggressive behavior, including physical harm to the victim. There was also one incident involving a member of the Florida State football staff. A tweet just now from Jeff Kavanaugh tweeted a line from Josh Ball, who's on with the fan, the Cowboys broadcast right now. The past is the past and everybody's moved on, so I don't really have a comment on all that. This is Jeff's part of Jeff's tweet, but Jeff's point. Bad answer to me if allegations are true. Some people don't get to move on from that trauma so easily. So definitely some things to sit on, some things to think about as the draft continues to go on. My name is RJ Ochoa. If you did not know, if you've joined us late, I'm the manager and editor-in-chief over at bloggingtheboys.com. We will be covering the draft all day long. This is the end of our round 4 stream. We will be launching our round 5 stream in about 30 minutes, about 1:30-ish p.m. Central Standard Time. So head on over to that. If you're watching wherever you are, you can see the link to that. So go get ready. We'll be there to talk about what the Cowboys are going to do in the 5th round. They hold 1 pick at the moment, the 179th overall selection. We'll be there to discuss it all. Gonna get caffeinated again. Gonna take a break. Let's go. The Cowboys still have 4 picks to make, people, and we have a lot to discuss. So we'll see you over there. It's going to be a really fun rest of the day. We have a lot of guests slated to join us. So we'll see you in just a little bit talking round 5 of the 2021 NFL Draft.